Across the water again, this time to the Isle of Man for round 3 of this year's Ultimate Street Bike Series. Glorious weather, large crowds, and with the famous 8th mile Morag Prom closed to the public, the action could commence. Chris Richards, an open class runner, was straight into the sixes with his V&M prepared GSX 1100, seemingly unaffected by a stiff breeze sweeping across the track from the sea. Also charged up for the 8th mile dash was Owen Lewis on his nitrous-injected 1100E. Having ridden all the way from Jersey, he ran 6.54 at 116 miles per hour to claim a top spot. Richard Albans of Toaster Tuning Shop on his 1500cc Cosworth Suzuki managed to run a total of 10 times down the Ramsey Strip. Equaling Richard Albans with 10 passes was Ian Armstrong riding a GS XR 1100. Unfortunately, he didn't break into the 6-second bracket. She, yes, she, being Kath Burrows, riding a Suzuki 1238 to some very respectable passes, was receiving just a little coaching from Mick Senior. Quickest 4-stroke twin was Pat Sefton's GPZ 500 Kawasaki until this incident happened. Debbie Wiggins slightly modifying the bike's bodywork. Thankfully, Debbie was unhurt. Debbie's boyfriend, wheelchair-bound Neil Champion, wasn't quite so lucky. His mad Sunday excursion on his Harris 750 Turbo ended up with him not remembering a lot about it. But being a keen ultimate street bike racer, he set off down the track, but pulled up with handling problems. Trouble is, you get spoilt with these Harris chassis. Craig Ashton's GSXR 1100 was up with the leaders today. The next day, the very same bike was entered in the Senior TT. GSXR Versatility. Who's this? Oh, it's Tony Middlehurst on the new Project Black Jet. Getting used to the turbo power is going to take a bit of time. Also new to turbos this year, Chris Easter was starting to get the hang of it with a run of 6.88 at 116 miles per hour to give him a top 10 place. Class D winner at Cork, Dave McCready, continued his winning streak, taking the 2-stroke twin honours at Ramsey on his consistently quick RD350. He pipped Alan Tinian on his 2-stroke open class RD500. A bike getting a lot of attention was John Scott's immaculate H1 triple Kawasaki, looking better than the day it rolled out of the showroom. Radical Motorcycles is how I would describe the Quantum Suzukis, with on-board Grant Leonard and Stephen Dyer. Marco Rosso was charging hard as ever on his GSX 1100 and running a best of 7.02 at 106 miles per hour. Another regular Ultimate Street Bike competitor on his immaculate Katana is Jerry Phil, here running a 6.84, but later went on to improve his time to 6.71 at 114 miles per hour. Royston Underhill on his FZR 1000 was the quickest Yamaha, here running another silky smooth low 7-second pass. Bill Hunter's Spondon Turbo, looking every bit a winner, was still being hampered by gear change problems. No gear change problems for Kevin Hodgson. His problem was keeping the front end in contact with the road. Ian Cloak on his Ducati 900 and Jeff Sweet on his Ducati 900 SSD both ran times in the 8.6 second bracket in the 4-stroke twin battle. V-twin to V4, the Honda of David Bruin ran a best time of 7.58 seconds. Certainly no cam problems on this one, yet. Andy Bacon's unusual 2-stroke twin had given way to an FZ 750 Yamaha for the Ramsey event. Staying with 750cc's, this time in the shape of a GS XR 750 Suzuki, Mr. Lewandon recording a staggering 6.89 second run. Oh, and this is Tucker, as he's known, on his ZX-10 Kawasaki. Silly Tucker, if you ask me. If I'm not mistaken, that looks like an Isle of Man logo on his back. Must be a local, I think. Anyway, his name is Pete Jones, and his open class GS 1000 ran a best of 7.32. The pace was furious, and by the end of the day, with no eliminations at Ramsey because of single lane running, Chris Richards just hung on to his first place by 0.04 of a second from Owen Lewis. Third, Craig Ashton, and fourth, Andy Tyskovich on another 1100 EF. Plenty for the crowds, with riders fast and slow. Tony Huck had organised another memorable Isle of Man ultimate street bike.
EBC's 323 and Goldline compound disc pads are the professional's choice, a fact endorsed by both Steve Burns and Bill Hunter in the Ultimate Street Bike series. When it comes to stopping, choose EBC. EBC pads are available from any good dealer throughout the country.
For round 4 of the Ultimate Street Bike series, Long Marston near Stratford to be precise, and the weather, well, nothing short of brilliant. Britain's second day of summer. The first was at Blyton, of course. Some 299 riders took to the strip, and during the course of the weekend clocked up an astounding 2,300 runs. The most stunning new bike to be tried at Marston was Tony Arnold's Cosworth Katana. Performing as well as it looked, Tony ran consistent 9.7s first time out. If that didn't stun you enough, then this will. Brian Emery on his 1100E with every modification you ever dreamt of ran this monster pass of 9.66 seconds at an amazing 155 miles per hour terminal. Chris Easter was getting quicker by the round. Question is, would he hit 9s by the end of the day? This time out, 10.02 at 143 miles per hour. So near. Gary Kenley, although quick, was off his usual pace after changing a swinging arm before coming to Long Marston. 10.11 at 138 on this occasion. John McKean's supercharged Suzuki was about to enter the top 10 with a first 9-second run for him. Competitor 513, Chris Hall, was running consistent 9s now, after last year's gearbox problems. After selling his GSXR 1100, Andy Brewster purchased this tasty-looking beast from NCK Racing at Coventry. Problem was, it had so much power, it ate Metzler road tyres for lunch. So Andy swapped to a competition slick in the afternoon and ran demos. Later on, the bike was to pitch him off at the top end of the strip. Other demo passes came from Rod Pullent on LA Hooker, ear-splitting stuff that one, and Paul Willis on the NCK Funny Bike, normally aspirated and producing a low 5-second pass over the 8th mile. In the 2-stroke open class, Rod Spryer took the honours once more, closely followed by the crackling kettles of Wayne Schreier and Wild Bill Calcutt. In the 4-stroke twin battle, Graham Wolfe again took honours on his Formula 1 Ducati. Harry, Inspector Barlow as he's known, took his pro-porting RD400 to victory again and surprising a few Big Fours with his rapid departure from the line. Losing a race, you can get over that. But lose what you're sitting on, like Pete Jones nearly did at Marston, well, that's different. Dave Ennis on his Z1B nearly made his first outing of the year at Long Marston. Meanwhile, Pete Sherman on a GS 1000 found himself with a time ticket which read 10.9 at 123 miles per hour. And what was this? John Goodman not being able to turn down a go on his old bike? Oh, and another familiar figure, Tony Middlehurst on Project Blackjet. popping and banging his way to a 10.73 at 138 miles per hour. Stephen Ashby on a GS1000 Suzuki was pawing the air en route to a mid-11 second pass. From the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of this monster wheelie taking place. Bill Hunter, starring in A Tale of Two Bikes, first out on his 1100E, then back to the Spondon Turbo for a 10-second eliminator qualifying run. Local man Wayne Schreier, this time on his Kawasaki 1100, qualified in bump spot with a 10.15 at 137 miles per hour. How long will it be before the 16-bike eliminator is run with 16 bikes qualifying in the 9s? Talking of eliminators, with a series of close-run battles, Martin Peck on the nitrous-injected Dymo GSX 1150 was left to do battle with Steve Burns on his turbocharged E. What better an end to a nail-biting final than a 9-second result? Steve Burns taking the win from Martin Peck. With just time for a last spectacular demo from Phil Bland on his normally aspirated funny bike. The final outcome was Brian Emery clinging to first place with his 9.66. Second was Tony Arnold. Third, Steve Burns. And fourth, Chris Hall with his nitrous-injected ZX 1100.